We both think we're
Yeah.
gonna like it. I kind of am curious of how much comedy is not gonna land anymore, or if it's
Uh,
pretty safe to say that you're gonna be okay for the most part. I'm curious to see.
I'm gonna be okay for the most part,
No,
or
not you.
I
The
think.
world. The
Oh,
world.
okay. I thought you were because what? Because I'm a white dude. I'm
You're gonna be
okay
fine
with
with
the
everything.
dated humor. He's making fun of minorities. Love it.
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
There it is. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Today we are going back to the 80s, 1984 to be specific, to watch Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy, as I was saying before, I watched a lot of him, especially with friends. Beverly Hills Cop, 48 Hours, another 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Golden Child. What's that one with Richard Pryor? Harlem Nights. Tons of movies in the 80s. But what do you remember about Beverly Hills Cop?
I remember it was hilarious. That's what I remember. Now, I watched it probably in the late 80s, early 90s. So I was apparently a little old for myself. So I watched it and I thought it was really, really funny. Obviously, a lot of the jokes I did not get. But I mean, I thought it was super funny and I loved all the characters and I loved Eddie Murphy in it. And, I was watching, I think Bronson Pinchot at that point was in Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
So I recognized him. But I remember thinking this movie was absolutely hilarious. And it was a classic. It's still a classic. People still talk about it to this day.
Yeah, I watched this movie quite a few times. Whenever I got the chance, I just remember it being funny. Like you, I didn't get all the jokes. Same when I watched Delirious. I laughed and I laughed and I didn't understand half of what he was talking about, but I laughed.
Yeah.
Just because he swore a lot.
Watching anything Eddie Murphy, before he started doing like the more family friendly stuff, like there were always jokes that you didn't get until you watched it like 5-10 years later, and then you're like, oh, that's what that was about.
Yeah. All I knew is cursing a lot, and a lot of people I liked were all of a sudden gay, and I didn't know what was going on, but I was laughing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, probably sometime in the 90s would have been the last time I saw Beverly Hills Cop. It's not that it's just one of those ones that kind of fell off to the side, and like almost all of these movies, they just kind of disappear.
Weirdly enough, I think it may have been the mid 2000s the last time I saw it. And that's just because it popped up on TV.
Oh, okay.
And I had already missed the beginning of it because I very vividly remember that. And I was like, oh, Beverly Hills. Oh, he's already in Beverly Hills. Oh, okay. And so I just kept watching it. It's funny because I don't remember. I remember more of this movie than I do of most, which is look at me. I'm so proud of myself. But I don't remember a lot of specifics. Like it's not one of those movies where I can quote it or I can pick out a scene. Like I just remember laughing a lot and him running around a lot. And poor Judge Reinhold just being dragged along with him.
Yeah, I remember quite a bit. I remember like the banana in the tailpipe. I remember the Bronson Pinchot when he meets him, and that was pretty funny. I remember him laughing a lot in Beverly Hills because he's from Detroit. I remember the sergeant from Detroit.
Yes.
He has only I guess I don't know if he does stage or not. He's has only done 3 movies,
Yeah.
and all 3 of them were the Beverly Hills Cops. That's
He
it.
probably does a lot of stage work.
Yeah, and I just remember him being very mean and
Oh,
vocal.
yeah. He was I think he was one of my favorite characters because he was just mean.
Yeah.
Just mean.
All right, well, let's take a look at 1984's box office for Beverly Hills Cop. Ooh, let me bring up before I forget.
Also, for some reason, I really thought this movie had come out in the late 80s, like early 90s. For some reason, that was in my head as the date. So when you said
Oh,
1984, I was like, was it real? Wow.
yeah, Beverly Hills Cop 3 was in 91, 92.
Damn.
Yeah, and
I don't
I
think I've ever
believe
seen that one.
it's okay
Yeah.
as far as I can remember. I remember loving Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Mm.
And what's her name was Sylvester Stallone's 80s wife. Very tall, very
Jennifer Flavin?
no.
No,
She
that's
was
the
in
90s wife.
she was in Red Sonja. She was an
Oh,
actress. She's the bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
right, right. Brigitte Nielsen?
Bridget Nielsen, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's an interesting one.
Yeah. So let's take a look at 1984's box office. On a budget of $13 million, it had a domestic of $234.7 million and an international of 81.6, making a worldwide of 316. That would be good today,
That would be amazing today.
let alone 1984. Needless to say, it was the number one movie of 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made a shitload on $13 million.
That's nuts, especially when you put it in the context of it being 1984.
Yeah.
Like, if you really think about that, movie tickets were cheap,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it wasn't a network like they have now where, like, all the theaters are interconnected. There were a lot more independent theaters.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Now, of note, it opened at number 1 and stayed number 1 for 13 weekends straight. It
Jesus.
dropped to number 2 for the 14th weekend and then back to number 1 for its 15th weekend. It beat out other opening films like 2010, which I remember liking, City Heat, I remember liking on its first weekend. And then like Dune, Cotton Club, Starman, and Runaway, The Falcon and the Snowman, Tomboy, Witness, which I
Oh,
loved,
wow. Such a good movie.
and Missing in Action 2. It was dethroned on the 14th weekend, not by a new opening, but it was Witness on its 5th week of release. So it kind of went back and forth a bit. Back in the day, there wasn't, because when I was looking, there wasn't a new movie, let alone 3 movies opening every weekend,
Mm,
sometimes 5 or 6 now. There were 4 or 5 weekends during this where there was no movies opening,
yeah.
which made me think that this is something I think, especially now with not as many people going back to the movie theaters, I think they should start adopting this again. Instead of making all these movies for $200 million a piece or $150 million a piece, make a couple, make some $13 million or $30 million movies. Every movie theater should open up like maybe 10 movies a year. And because we miss so much,
We do. The
so
problem
much.
is when they were doing this, it's because they were doing it on film.
Yeah.
There was an actual editor who was cutting film to, like, do this. We were just starting to get into, like, special effects and more digital stuff. We were just, like, it was just opening the door at this point. Now, any Tom, Dick, or Harry with 10 grand can film a movie.
Yeah.
Enter it
Yeah.
into a festival because there are lots of festivals that accept people without, discernment. So it's a different, like, we need more. If we were still filming on film, it would be a very different situation. But because we've gone pretty much digital with so much, and now
Or,
there are so many people who can do, like, special effects in their house.
yeah. Or we need more independence where you can go to that independent theater and watch the
Yes,
$10,000 movie, or because now it's all corporate.
th
And
that's very true.
what I liked about this was that you could go on a weekend, nothing new is opening, and you go, oh, okay, I've seen Beverly Hills Cop twice.
Mhm.
I've seen Witness. You know what? I'm gonna watch City Heat or Dune or something. It just looks like you could catch up on a lot, and I don't know. It's just like every week, it's like there's like 8 straight to video or VODs. There's
Mhm.
like 3 or 4 big budget movies, and it's really hard to keep up.
There's a lot to, like, watch, and there's stuff like, it's funny because I never made it to the theater to watch Abigail, which still hurts my heart.
I bought it when it came out on video on demand.
Yeah, but now it's, like, $29.99 to buy it.
I know I bought it.
Yeah,
Just
and I
so
was
I could
like,
see it. It was
I don't
good.
know if I wanna pay $30.
It's not $30 good.
I'd pay $30 to go to the theater, get some
Yeah.
popcorn, like, for the experience, but if I'm sitting at home in my pajamas, I'm not paying $30 to buy a movie that I have not seen yet. Now, if it was a movie that I've seen and I loved and it had a whole bunch of extras, I'm buying the digital copy. Let's do this, but for $30. But I'm like, nah, I can't. And I think that's the difference. There's no experience anymore.
Well, there are some
Right.
now coming out where if you buy, like, I know the new Ghostbusters, the new King Kong, it comes with extras. So you get the digital
Mm,
movie plus you get some extras like the making ofs and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't get to go to theater. Like, I'm going to be going to watch Despicable Me 4. That's what I get to go see. So I will pay the extra for Abigail.
Yeah.
Mad Max,
Mm.
he's not even in it. The Mad Max, what is it called? Ferocia?
Furiosa.
Yeah,
Furiosa.
I'll pay the 20
Yeah.
30 bucks to watch that cuz it does look no Mad Max, but it still looks awesome.
I mean,
Yeah. But it's a lot. Like, and then you're like, well, you just wait a few more weeks and it'll probably be on a streamer somewhere.
honestly, I'm just waiting for it to pop up. Usually it pops up like the Primes and the Netflixes and all of that. So
Right.
I've just been periodically checking because I'm like, I want to know I'm going to like it before I buy it. That's just call me crazy.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the tail of the tape. 4. It was an action comedy. Oh, it came out in December too, which was
Oh,
weird.
wow.
So yeah, that's a weird release for this type of movie, and it only opened with like 8 million, which is, again, 1984. That's not bad. It's still number 1,
Yeah.
but it had legs and it kept going and going and going. It is an action comedy. It is rated R and it comes in at 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Huh. I don't remember it feeling that long.
Taglines. He's been chased, thrown through a window, and arrested. Eddie Murphy is a Detroit cop on vacation in Beverly Hills.
That's stupid.
This is an
That's a terrible, terrible tagline.
The heat is on.
Okay. That one I'm not mad at.
And that's also like the main song.
Yeah.
I'd play it, but we get flagged on YouTube.
We'll just think about it.
Synopsis. Those were the only 2 taglines. Synopsis. After his childhood buddy is murdered while visiting Detroit, rebellious... I can't read that. Oh, wait. Idiot. Me. There we go. Let's start over. After his childhood buddy is murdered while visiting Detroit, rebellious cop Axel Foley, Eddie Murphy, follows the leads to Beverly Hills, California,
Mm-hmm.
under the auspices. Why would you make such big fucking words for? You think really smart people are watching these movies? God, fuck. Of a vacation, he checks in with old friend Jenny Summers, Lisa Elbacker.
Sounds right.
Sure. And starts to believe her boss, art dealer Victor Maitland, Stephen Burkhoff. Ooh, I remember him. He looks like a villain. Might somehow be involved in the murder. However, Lieutenant Bogomil, Ronny Cox of the Beverly Hills Police Department, does not trust Foley and hinders his search for evidence. That was a terrible read.
But
His
you made
buddy-
it through.
I made it through. His buddy dies. He follows his leads to Beverly Hills and
Mm-hmm.
gets into some hijinks.
As you do, as a
Yeah.
detective.
Of course. And here is the poster. Very iconic.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one he's been chased, thrown through a window, and arrested. Eddie Murphy's a Detroit cop on vacation in Beverly Hills. Up top, He's sitting on a red car. Beverly Hills Cop underneath his foot. Yeah, I like the poster. It's
Also, there's something that you probably won't see on most posters now. He's holding a gun.
yeah, he's holding a gun. Did you? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Oh no, we're done this. Okay, before we go, yeah, you're right about the gun, but Amazon airbrushed Born to Kill off the what movie was that? Full Metal Jacket.
Oh.
Where it's a very iconic. It's the Born to Kill, and then it has the peace sign. And there's a scene in the movie that explains, because one of the guys are like, "Why do you have a peace sign and Born to Kill?" And it's this whole speech he gives, but it's very iconic. It was actually, the poster was painted by some artist that is very famous. I'm not an art person, obviously, and people got all up in a snit. Actually, Matthew Modine was he on Twitter or X said, what gives? You can't just alter. And so Amazon did put it back, but yeah, Big Brother's starting.
Yeah, starting. Those motherfuckers are all up in there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyways, we're talking about Beverly Hills Cop.
That's right.
Rotten Tomatoes, 52 critic reviews. This movie sits at 83%. That is very high for an action comedy, like a cop movie from 80s.
So high.
250,000 audience members, and it's at 82%. So that's, I think everyone's high. In agreement. Yeah, that's very high. Not sure for that many people. And the critic consensus is the buddy cop movie continues its evolution unabated with this Eddie Murphy vehicle that's fast, furious, and funny. All right.
So fancy.
Let's start with the fresh. You may start.
I'm ready. Although Murphy is a one-man army comedian, the chemistry between Foley, Rosewood, and Taggart truly makes the movie hilarious. Mike Massey, Gone with the Twins, original score 9 out of 10. Wow, that's high.
And I do remember Rosewood and Taggart. They were pretty funny. Judge Reinhold and Austin.
John Ashton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both in the new one. Murphy is a one-man show backed up by a supporting cast, especially Reinhold and Ashton, who allow Murphy the freedom to do what he does best. Allison Rose, flick direct, original score 4.5 out of 5.
Wow. A work of racial subversion that's both hilarious and cathartic. John Larson on Film, original score 3.5 out of 4.
This lickety-split action comedy is distinguished by the wry, character-conscious direction of Martin Brest, who coaxes a silver bullet performance from star Eddie Murphy that's practically criminal in its accuracy. Kirk Ellis, Hollywood Reporter, original score not available, but he liked it.
Simply put, Beverly Hills Cop is one of the best buddy cop movies ever made. R.L. Schaefer, IGN DVD, original score 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is building it up.
Yeah.
Be really good. It's one of the few star comedies of the early 80s to allot some humor and personality to the minor characters. Dave Kerr, Chicago Reader, original score not available. And like you said, I remember Bronson Pinchot. I remember Judge Reinhold. I remember the sergeant from Detroit. Oh, Paul Reiser, his partner that's supposed to keep everyone busy back in Detroit for him. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it does. The minor
it's got
characters.
A really funny cast.
Yeah.
Like all of the cast is funny. It's a good detective story. It's a great bad guy. It's got a motivated hero. It's a fun movie that moves and doesn't stop. Kevin Carr, Fat Guys at the Movies, original score 4 out of 4.
All right. Rotten. I'll start. It has a creamy surface and junky insides. Ugh. It's kind of gross. David Elliott, Copley News Service, original score not available.
That sounds so wrong. Okay. Expectations that Eddie Murphy's street brand of rebelliousness would devastate staid and glittery. Let's try that again. Expectations that Eddie Murphy's street brand of rebelliousness would devastate staid and glittery Beverly Hills are not entirely met in a film that grows increasingly dramatic. Variety staff, Variety original score not available. What the fuck were you trying to say about that?
Wow. I'm glad you said that. I would have. Whoa. I would
I'm
have
gonna have
butchered
to
the
read.
shit out of that.
I did butcher the shit out of it because I was like, wait, this is. You need more punctuation, Variety.
Yeah, I just copy and paste. All right. Eddie Murphy looks like the latest victim of the star magic syndrome, in which it is assumed that a movie will be a hit simply because it stars an enormously talented person. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, original score 2.5 out of 4.
Damn, Roger. Away from Murphy's iconic comic status and star quality at the time, he was a limited dramatic actor, making almost untenable the tauter moments of the plot. P.J. Nabarro, Patrick Nabarro, original score 2 out of 5.
All right, IMDb. 207,000 user ratings brings us at 7.4. A little lower than Rotten Tomatoes, but still, again, pretty high. Yeah. All right, a lot of people like this. So we could take turns, but you may start.
Okay. Beverly Hills, these are the 10 out of 10s.
Yes.
Beverly Hills Cop is the best classic action comedy film from the 80s. I vote Cobra 8.
Beverly Hills Tops. Prismark 10.
Eddie Murphy's greatest achievement. Foley Axel.
Standing ovation. BJG reviews.
Hugely enjoyable and features Eddie Murphy in his best role, the little songbird.
Funniest combination of bananas and tailpipes in cinematic history. 9 out of 10. Anonymous Maxine.
Fantastic. The heat is on. Indeed. 8 out of 10. Hitchcock the Legend.
One of the only times Murphy's talents has not been misused. 7 out of 10. Policy 134.
Popular 1980s comedy, but too energetic for my liking. 6 out of 10. Tony Peacock 1.
Likes his movies a little slow. A little slower. Average movie in today's standards. I think they meant by today's standards, but
yeah.
5 out of 10. SAF reviews.
Too cliched to be entertaining. 4 out of 10. Haverpopper 4.
Overrated to the point of surreality. 3 out of 10. Jidiki 20. There were
2
no
out of
2 out of
10 is
10s.
not available.
Neverly Hills Plop. Sorry.
Okay.
And it has asterisks beside it. 1 out of 10. It was the only one there.
Oh.
Tallwood 13. Neverly Hills Plop.
That's... Who hurt you, Tallwood 13?
Yeah.
That you made that pun.
All right. So we went over what we remembered, went over the box office, went over the tail of the tape, synopsis, taglines, and looked at some reviews. Let us watch the trailer, and then we're going to make our predictions.
Eddie Murphy is a Detroit cop on vacation in Beverly Hills.
I just got off the phone with an Inspector Todd in Detroit. He says if you're out here investigating the Tandino murder, you needn't bother coming back.
I don't want to take it anymore.
For a man who claims to be on vacation, you look a lot like you're on a stakeout.
Stakeout? No. I'm picnicking. This is like a picnic area. I have to ask you some questions about Michael Tandino. I've never been to a cell that had a phone in it. Can I stay for a while? Because I ordered some pizza.
We have 6 witnesses that say you broke in and started tearing up the place, then jumped out the window.
May I help you? Yeah. I'm looking for Victor Maitland.
I have nothing to say to you.
How you doing? You guys don't know nothing about nothing, do you? You just got your badges and your guns and you're on the job, right? Make sure we get the right drinks, because if I drink club soda, I'll throw up. You know, this is the cleanest and nicest police car I've ever been in my life. This thing's nicer than my apartment.
Retrospect, you are the pride of your department in Detroit. Seems painfully obvious you haven't the slightest idea who you're dealing with.
I don't know what y'all think I am, killing me some kind of food. Hurry up, quicker!
Crawl back to your little stone in Detroit before you get squashed.
Cover me. Police! You're all under arrest! You do that again, I'll shoot you myself.
Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop.
That is a great trailer. That is one catchy song.
It is a very catchy song. I can't wait to hear the soundtrack for this movie.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking the same thing. That's gonna be great.
I feel like it's going to be a really good one.
It looks funny. A few more things popped into my head as I watched it. I still
Mhm.
don't remember everything. I'm excited about watching it. What's your prediction? I think I'm gonna like
gonna
it.
like it. We're agreed on this. We both think we're
Yeah.
gonna like it. I kind of am curious of how much comedy is not gonna land anymore, or if it's pretty safe to say that you're gonna be okay for the most part. I'm curious to see.
I'm gonna be okay for the most part,
No,
or
not you.
we're I
The
think
world. The
oh,
world.
okay. I thought because what? Because I'm a white dude. I'm
You're gonna be
okay
fine
with
with
the
everything.
dated humor. He's making fun of minorities. Love it.
As a minority, honestly, I think that'll probably save him a little bit. But well, yeah, I'm curious to see if it still translates to today.
Well, it is 40 years today. No, not today. I mean, this year. I mean, I guess this
Yeah.
December it'll be 40 years it was released. That's a long fucking time.
That's a really fucking long time. So I think it'll
Wow.
be really interesting to see if I'm still laughing at it this like 40 years later and not being like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
that's not okay." But I'm excited to see it because I really, really remember loving it. Now I'm like, I think I'm gonna like it still. We'll see how much.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to go watch Beverly Hills Cop. I think it's on a bunch of streaming services,
Mhm.
on Paramount and Netflix. Paramount because they made. I think they make it.
Mm,
I think so, and
I think
it's
so.
on Netflix because Netflix has number 4. But let's go watch Beverly Hills Cop and then come back and review it.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
You gonna play games, man? Hey, I'm fucking somebody else. Hey! What the fuck is this? Did you see this shit? I can describe all of them.
Please move to the side of the car and put your hands on the hood.
Why? What's with you guys?
You heard what he said, sir. Do it right now, please.
What kind of shit is this, man? Hold up. Wait a second. You guys are arresting me for getting thrown out of a fucking window? I got thrown out of a window, man.
Gun, partner. Sir, you are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of the law. You have the right to have an attorney present during questioning.
Yeah, I understand. I understand the rights. I know this is bullshit, though, man. I got thrown out of a fucking window.
Please get in the car, sir.
Yeah, but tell me, son, what's the charge?
Possession of a concealed weapon and disturbing the peace.
Disturbing the peace? I got thrown out of a window. What's the fucking charge for getting pushed out of a moving car, huh? Jaywalking? This is bullshit.
Ooh. Wasn't that fun, kids? Bananas in the tailpipes and cursing and Did you watch Beverly Hills Cop 1984?
I did.
And what's your initial thoughts?
It's still funny. which actually surprised me. I wasn't expecting to find it that funny. Not as hilarious as I remember, and it was more action heavy than I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a surprise for me, but I really enjoyed it. And I didn't find anything that was, like, super red flag, which is impressive for a movie from 1984.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was. Yeah. My initial thought, I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it is getting up there in age, but this wasn't just watching a well done action comedy. Like, this was being teleported back to the 80s.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't remember shit about 1984, but it was fun watching it.
I remember very little about
Very little.
1984.
A little bit, but not a whole lot.
I do remember my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Pereira. Hi. That's and I remember a few other things. I think that was the year I also had, like, a Barbie cake for my birthday. It was a very exciting time.
Yeah, and surprisingly, there wasn't a whole lot of offensive stuff in this movie.
No, there wasn't anything, like, super outright that you're like, "Oh, shit, you can't do that now." There
No.
were a couple things, like,
He
where
pretended to be gay a couple times.
Yeah. So, like, that was a little, like, borderline, but he wasn't even
But it wasn't like out of meanness or spite or
No, it wasn't out of meanness, it wasn't out of spite, it wasn't overly flamboyant either. Like,
no.
he didn't take it to the extreme, and I was like, "Oh, this is refreshing,"
Yeah. No, I was
especially for 1984.
yeah. I was a little surprised. I was expecting something.
Me too. I was actually really shocked that it aged pretty well, we'll put it that way. Like, you can obviously tell it is a movie from the 1980s. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt about it, like, you can't get around that,
No.
100%.
But
However, super good.
yeah, and I enjoyed it. You know how sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, I wish it was a little newer or I enjoyed it being looking the way it did.
Yeah. No, it was pretty impressive. I was like, "Oh." I think the comedy in it and the story isn't super time sensitive.
No.
So, like, it's a story that could be told today. Like, it's not and I think that helps a lot, and a lot of the comedy in it isn't super I don't wanna say not super 1980s because it pretty much is, but it's not super dated. Like, a lot of the jokes still land today. It's still, like it's still funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I did find it pretty much all pretty funny. There were maybe a couple that were
Yeah.
dated, but
Yeah, there were some
even
jokes that didn't land quite as well,
yeah.
but still good, which honestly shocked me. Not even gonna lie.
All right, let's go over the movie. Okay, so Axel Foley is a plainclothes Detroit detective whose latest unauthorized sting operation goes sour when two uniformed officers intervene, resulting in a high-speed chase through the city that causes widespread damage. First, whoever cast this film, for the music. There is
Aw, so good.
nothing like being sucked into a song. Like
I was dancing during the credits.
yeah, I wasn't dancing, but I was bobbing my leg like a white man bob.
Yeah.
There are songs that if I hear them, I want to go watch a movie, and especially 80s, like "Don't You Forget About Me,"
Yes.
on St. Elmo's Fire, the Top
Yeah.
Gun soundtrack, and
Mhm.
this movie soundtrack was awesome. It was good. I
It was so
loved it.
good. So good.
So it would be second. Whoever cast this film, fucking bravo.
Right?
Because from the beginning, these bit parts are played amazingly.
They are so great. Like, everybody is cast so incredibly well. There
Yeah.
is nobody that you're like, they should have cast somebody else." You're just like, "Yo, this was funny. This was good." I love also Paul Reiser, one of my favorites.
Yeah, and we'll get to that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I kind of was part two was I got number 1 and 2 all intermixed from my memories. So
Yeah.
what I think in the preview I was saying, remember when Paul Reiser was back trying to keep everyone busy.
Mhm.
That's part 2. That's in Beverly Hills Cop 2. That was not in this one, but he was still funny in this one.
He was. The scene in the locker room,
Yeah,
like,
that was
I
good.
was like, "This is fantastic."
This is not my locker. and then Todd is like, no, it's not your fucking locker. Jeffrey, get the fuck out of here. But even the smallest of person, like the cigarette buyer, played by Frank Pesci, who went on and did bigger things. Like he's been in a ton, and he's been one of my favorite Christmas movies, 29th Street. Just a little part, but he's memorable. Like when the cops come up and he takes the money out of Foley's hand, he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out of here. Nice doing business with you, kid." And even the guy driving it, the thugs, the cops, the police captain, Serge, and they were given jokes.
Yes.
And they were funny. It wasn't just the
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy getting all the ha-has.
No, everybody else
everyone.
got to get ha-has, which
Yeah.
I really liked. And I was like, oh, look at you sharing the wealth.
Yeah, it was really awesome. I will also admit that I like I said, Beverly Hills, it bled in. So everything I was waiting for things to happen, and some things weren't happening, but whatever. I remember, I think it's in number 2 where we get a little bit more of Inspector Todd, really cursing him out.
Yeah.
Axel's superior, Inspector Douglas Todd, reprimands him for his reckless behavior and threatens to fire him unless he changes his ways. And I was expecting a little more swearing, but I love when Todd is like, "The chief chewed my ass off," and Axel's like, "You didn't chew it all off. You still got a little ass left." "Don't fuck with me, Axel. Not today."
But the best part was Todd was already walking away when Axel said that line.
He's like, "Hey, chief.
Didn't chew it off. Hey, chief, didn't chew it all off. You still got a little ass." Todd was just like, "Fuck you." Yes.
Axel arrives at his apartment to find it has been broken into by his childhood friend Mikey Tandino. Mikey has done prison time for a car theft the pair had committed when they were younger, but has since landed a role as a security guard in Beverly Hills thanks to mutual friend Jenny Summers. Mike also shows Axel some German bearer bonds, and Axel wonders how he got them, but chooses not to question him about it. This was great. Mikey, played by James Russo, looks so young. Oh my God. If you see him a few years later, you're like, "Oh, that guy."
Yeah.
Like, he's done a ton, and he's usually always a bad guy or a douche. He just has that look about him. But this movie gives us enough information, enough time with the two of them to like him and get that they're best friends.
Yes, they were best friends. And it's funny because the story is actually really well told. And you do build the history in very short conversations with them. Like, it's not a lot of exposition, but it's just enough that you understand they were best friends.
Yeah.
Mikey covered for Axel because they were both in on the stealing of the cars. And it's like, "Well, why'd you do it?" And he was like,
"Yeah,
you're my best friend. Like, why would I?" And you're just like, okay, so they're loyal to each other. And this is also like, you're like, oh, so that's why Axel, the police officer, is not asking where he got those bonds from.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just like, "I'm not going to ask because I don't want to know. We're cool.
Well,
Let's go play cool."
I love that when Mikey is like, "You know what we should do? We should steal a car." And Axel's like, "I can't steal a car. I'm a motherfucking police officer." But he's laughing as he's saying it.
Like, these are friends who obviously took two very different paths in life.
Yeah, but are still
still have love for each other.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated.
After going out at the bar, they return to Axel's apartment where the two men, Zach and Casey, knock Axel unconscious, confront Mikey about the stolen bearer bonds, and then murder him. And go ahead.
2 taps.
2
They
taps.
stayed true. They stayed true to like organized crime. You're like, if you're going to take someone out, 2 taps.
2 taps just in case.
And I forgot that we saw that on camera.
And it was it was because they knocked him down, then he pulled back his head and then tapped. Then there was the 2 taps with the gun. It was very not gory, but it was still disturbing to see. And because you like the character, he's funny. Like when they were playing pool, he bet the guy $100, and he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" and gives the guy the $100.
That was something about this that I was like, "Oh, I fucking care that he's dead. Like, I'm sad. I'm sad that they killed him." And I was like, "Damn!" I wasn't." Because here's the thing, when you watch a comedy, what you remember as a comedy, especially from the 80s, you're not expecting to really care.
Mm-mm.
And this is very much like a plot point. This is a story point, like just to move the story forward. You have to be introduced to Mikey, but they managed to make him so likable in like the 3 minutes of airtime that he had, that by the time he gets the 2 taps, you're like, "No, Mikey, no." And then you're like, "Is Axel okay? Did he got knocked out? What's happening with him? They're not going to 2 tap him, are they?"
Yeah, because like what you just said there is like Rambo 2, when he fell in love with that girl over the boat ride and then she gets killed. You're like, okay, cool. Now he's gonna lose his shit and kill a ton of people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where this one, you're like, oh, I like that character. He was pretty funny.
Like, I wanted him to live. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch. But I was like, that's actually really impressive writing wise and director. And
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, you made me care about this character that I only met less than 5 minutes ago. Amazing.
Now, I will say they did skip over any type of funeral, which is a little odd, but you
I
don't
mean,
notice it a lot here. Like if you've seen this movie and if you're listening, you probably have. You're just getting excited that now Axel is going to Beverly Hills, but there was no mention of a funeral or anything like that. So that's the only. And I'm reading way too much into it, but that's the only thing that I would
give
fault
me
it.
one graveside scene, and then Axel getting into his car.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, you cut to him in Beverly Hills in his car. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it would have been nice. Not needed.
No,
but it
not
would have been
necessary.
nice.
But yeah, would have been nice.
Yeah.
Axel asked to be assigned to investigate Mikey's murder, but Inspector Todd won't allow it due to his close ties to Mikey. Under the guise of taking vacation time, Axel travels to Beverly Hills to solve the crime himself. Again, great soundtrack, great montage, transitioning from Detroit to Beverly Hills.
Yep.
We also get him checking into the hotel, posing as a journalist, interviewing Michael Jackson, and his tirade. Well, here, okay, let's take a look at, because I do have a couple ones here, so let's take a look.
Thank you. Hi.
Nervous, some people, huh?
May I help you?
Yes, you have a reservation for an Axel Foley?
Well, let's see. I'm sorry, I don't see anything under that name.
Check Rolling Stone Magazine's Axel Foley. That's what it is.
No Rolling Stone, no Axel Foley. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, that's all right. You guys probably just made some kind of mistake with reservations. Why don't you just give me another room now, go up and go to sleep?
I'm sorry, sir, but there are no rooms available.
Don't you think I realize what's going on here, miss? Who do you think I am, huh? Don't you think I know that if I was some hotshot from out of town that pulled inside here, and you guys made a reservation mistake, I'd be the first one to get a room, and I'd be upstairs relaxing right now. But I'm not some hotshot from out of town. I'm a small reporter from Rolling Stone magazine that's in town to do an exclusive interview with Michael Jackson that's going to be picked up by every major magazine in the country. I was going to call the article, Michael Jackson is sitting on top of the world, but now I think I might as well just call it, Michael Jackson can sit on top of the world just as long as he doesn't sit in the Beverly Palm Hotel, because there's no niggas allowed in there.
Excuse me, sir. It seems that we do have a last-minute cancellation. There is a room available. It's a suite, but I'll only charge you the single room rate.
Thank you. I'm sorry I got upset. It's probably from jet lag or something. I'm very tired.
I understand,
What's
sir.
the rate, anyway?
That'll be $235 a night, sir.
Fine.
And that'll be suite 1035.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If Michael called, tell him what room I'm in.
Because I couldn't repeat that joke.
Yeah, no.
For obvious reasons, but it was funny. So funny.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I was like, yes, start making a scene. Get this suite for $230, and it's funny because $235, you're like, that's a budget hotel.
Yeah,
right now.
You probably couldn't get it in New York or Beverly Hills.
Are you crazy? But yeah, it was like $235. That sounds cheap. And then you realize it's 1984.
84.
You forgot for a hot second there.
I don't know if it's in the trivia, but it did say that for inflation, it would be 600 and something, which in Beverly Hills is probably still a deal.
Fairly cheap, actually.
Yeah.
That is actually, I'm trying to think, because the last time I looked at hotel prices, because I toy with the idea of going to LA all the time and just kind of visiting. So I occasionally will look at a hotel and be like, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
And then you see the like really rank hotels and they're like $200 a night. You're like, you look like that's the kind of hotel people get raped and murdered in. What? You want me to pay $200 for that? No.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, thanks.
Anyways.
Okay. So he finds Jenny working in an art gallery and learns about Mikey's ties to Victor Maitland, the gallery's owner. It's not Wikipedia here, but we are introduced to Serge. And there is a whole thing on the internet where Bronson Pinchot explains where they sent the other actor home by accident and needed him to say a few extra lines, and what he came up with, the director loved it and expanded on it. And he's appeared in every Beverly Hills Cop movie since. And if I read this, I'm pretty sure it was improvised, and we're going to take a look, and this is going to be the last one. Because if we got a clip for every funny moment, we just might as well just watch the movie.
True
so
story.
this will be the last one.
Help you? Yeah, I'm looking for Miss Jenny Summers.
She's very busy today. Maybe you give me your name?
My name's Axel Foley.
And what it's pertaining?
I didn't understand what you said.
Pertaining, what it's meaning, regarding.
Oh, what's it regarding? I'm an old acquaintance of hers.
Danae? One moment. Donnie Brennan tell me Summers that Mr. Ahmed Foley is here to see...
Axel Foley. Axel.
Achwell?
Axel.
Foley is here to see her. These are old acquaintances. Donnie, cover this up. It's like the breast of a dog to scrub for the customer. It's not sexy, it's animal.
No, it's not sexy at all.
May I offer you something to drink? Wine, a cocktail, espresso?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
I'll make it myself right back there with a little lemon twist. It's good. Try it.
No, I'm fine.
I see you look at this piece.
Yeah, I was wondering how much something like this went for.
$130,000.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, I cannot. It's serious because it's very important piece.
Cannot.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, fuck.
Then Axel meets Jenny and tells her that Mikey is dead. And and again, it's just they're not very long, but they're long enough and that you get the story. It gets and it gives you the importance of what's actually going on. It was very well written and directed.
Incredibly well written, well directed, well cast. Because for the actors to make an impact in that short of a time, you really have to have that trifecta. Because otherwise you're fucked. Like if one of those is lacking, then
you can't.
Don't have the
you need all three.
You felt bad for Jenny when she heard about Mikey, and you literally just met her, but you're like, "Oh, Jenny, I'm sorry. Do you need a hug?"
And part of that is because Mikey and Axel talked about her.
Yes.
Back in Detroit, so you already got a sense that you know her kind of or heard of her, and it's really well done. Posing as a flower delivery man, Axel goes to Maitland's office to question him about Mikey, but is thrown out of a window by Maitland's bodyguards and arrested for trespassing. That was our clip at the beginning. That was, I cannot overstate, if you have not seen this movie in a long time, like I have not seen it since maybe early 90s, I think I was saying. Yeah. I don't know why, or maybe this is why it's such a treat watching, but it won't be another 30 years till I watch this again.
No.
I want to watch part 2 and even the horrendous part 3. Like we should do it like a double feature.
We should. We should. Because I don't remember. I don't think I ever watched 3, and I don't remember 2.
Right.
So I'm like, I now want to see them because I was like, 1 was delightful.
Yeah.
And then we'll find out what I feel about 4 later. But I was like, 1 was delightful. Why did I not? Like, why can't I remember 2? And why did I not watch 3?
So I remember really liking 2. And I remember, I think 3 was okay. But not great.
We'll find out.
Anyways, thrown out the window. Like he's in total shock. Like, what the fuck just happened? I just got thrown out a window. At the police station, Beverly Hills Police Department, Lieutenant Andrew Bogomil assigned Sergeant John Taggart and Detective Billy Rosewood to follow Axel. This is where he antagonizes Taggart, and Taggart punches him in the stomach.
Yep.
And like I said, I would love to show a clip, but if I keep showing them, we're just going to watch the whole movie. Bogomil calls Taggart in his office, and they come out. Taggart apologizes like a child whose parent has escorted him to a neighbor's house to make sure he's doing it word for word properly.
Yep.
And then Axel is asked if he'd like to press charges against Taggart, and he's like, "Where I come from, cops don't charge other cops." And Bogomil's like, "Well, here at Beverly Hills, we do it by the book." Jenny posts bail and then takes him to the warehouse where we see two guys bringing that crate, take the bonds out like the ones that Mikey had, and Axel notices coffee grounds, which will come in later. Wikipedia, they have a humiliating and comical encounter with him when he temporarily disables their car. That was all they have. This is the banana in the tailpipe.
Also, Damon Wayans was the banana man.
Yeah, I made a note where I'm watching, I'm going, that's Damon Wayans.
Seriously.
Where
Well, my
he's
first thought was Wayans' brother. And then it was like, which one is it? Rewound. I was like, Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans. Yeah, yeah. It was like, just take him.
Yeah.
Just take
That was fantastic. The entire, like, getting the room service for them in the car, and Tiger being like, no, I'm not going to eat that. And he's like, I'm going to have the shrimp salad.
Yeah, and Rosewood is taking it.
Rosewood's into it. He's like, this looks delicious.
Yeah, it looks really good. While Axel's stuffing the bananas in the tailpipe, and the guy's just winking at him.
Yep.
Also getting the bananas. That was funny. There's my note here with Damon Wayans. As a result, Billy and Taggart do not get along with Axel at first, but the three begin to develop a mutual respect after they foil a robbery at a strip bar. Great scene. Taggart and Rosewood are facing away from the stage, and Axel's just having the time of his life.
He's just watching. He's like, hey,
yeah. And then Billy starts to get into it and gives $1 and puts it in her G-string.
But it's so funny because he's like, excuse me. It's like, that was the most polite interaction with a stripper I've ever seen.
Yeah. And then Axel starts to bring up the coffee bean things and then two guys come in and Axel realizes they're about to rob the place. And he and Taggart position themselves. Billy at the end comes and tells them to freeze. Okay, so back to Wikipedia. Continuing his investigation, Axel sneaks into one of Maitland's warehouses where he finds crates full of coffee grounds. He suspects they have been used to pack drugs, since he knows they are often used to cover the scent of drugs from police dogs. Axel also discovers that many of Maitland's crates have not gone through customs. After being arrested again, this time as a scuffle with Zach in Maitland's country club, with Zach at Maitland's country club, Axel attempts to alert Bogomil and that Maitland must be a smuggler. But the Beverly Hills Police Chief, Hubbard, who has learned of Axel's ill-advised investigation acts, orders that he be escorted out of town. This is where we also see, I never noticed this when I was a kid, obviously, that Bogomil has a respect for Axel. Like he gets what he's saying. He knew what he was talking about when it came to the coffee beans. And you can tell he respects or recognizes that he's a good cop. Like when he was doing that story when he was going on about that story of the two super cops, he was just watching the strip show, and Taggart and Rosewood were the ones that actually did it. Like you could tell he knew he was full of shit, but
100%.
Yeah. Axel convinces Billy to pick up Jenny instead and take her with them to the warehouse where a shipment is due to arrive that day. Axel and Jenny break into the warehouse and discover several bags of cocaine inside a crate, of course, under the coffee.
Of course.
Before he can get his newfound evidence to Billy, Maitland arrives with his associates Zach and Casey. Maitland takes Jenny and leaves Axel, ordering that he be killed. Zach then tells Axel that he was the one that killed Mikey. After some hesitation, Billy enters the warehouse and rescues Axel after a brief gunfight, during which he kills Casey. Now, Billy, Rosewood, I was sitting there as the bad guys show up going, they might need some help, dude. Then they exit with Jenny, and it's like, Rosewood, they really might need some help.
Anybody going to do anything? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just sitting there, and he's like agonizing over whether he should do something or not. I'm like, Rosewood's instincts suck. But he does rescue Axel, saves Axel, and and again, Taggart and Rosewood were funny. Like they're kind of like Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello.
Or really
Taggart,
just a dad and his teenage son.
Yeah,
Taggart
kind of, because he's
very much the like by the rules. Like let's keep this straight. Let's keep this on the straight and narrow. Like let's not like get wild. And Rosewood is kind of like, can we just maybe like can we go a little? I just want to. Can we try it?
Or when they're like in the stakeout, they're waiting for Axel, and he's like, I notice you're feeling a little, and I notice you eat a lot of red meat, and doing stuff like that. So it's a weird relationship.
It's a great relationship, and you don't appreciate that when you're younger and you watch this movie. But as you get older, you're kind of like, oh yeah, they probably get on each other's nerves, but love each other a lot. Like it feels right.
And it wasn't just Axel being the one-man show. Like Taggart helps him in the strip club. Billy saves Axel. They both help in the mansion, even Bogomil. So I really, and as a kid, I didn't. As an older viewer, yeah, you do appreciate it a lot more. There was a lot more layers to it.
Yeah.
Because when you're a kid, you were just watching this because of Eddie Murphy. That's all you were watching. Yeah.
And you were just watching Eddie Murphy. Like
Yeah.
you didn't pick up on the more subtle kind of ensemble feel of the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Taggart tracks Axel and Billy to Maitland's estate, where he joins the two in rescuing Jenny and bringing Maitland to justice. Together, the trio wipe out a number of Maitland's men, including Zach. With Bogomil's help, Axel then fatally shoots Maitland and rescues Jenny. This, again, just Taggart and trying to get up over that wall. His fucking legs kick in and Billy trying to push him up, like pushing his ass up. And then they fall. The way they fall, they like go backward. And then like Axel's waiting for them. Then he sees Taggart struggling and he's laughing. And no, this was a really good finale. It was a great finale.
It really was. It really, really was. Like it was very funny, very well timed, really great, like physical comedy.
Yeah.
And this is also where we end up with Billy's line. Well, this is where it becomes his trend, where he like stands up and tells everybody to breathe.
And then they shoot, and he's
and
like,
then they shoot at him.
Yeah, he's like, if you do that again, I'm gonna shoot you myself.
Part of that one
again in the 80s, the bad guys, they can't shoot very well. The 80s, that was kind of a staple, but for the most part, like when they were getting shot, the action was pretty good.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. Bogomil fabricates a story to Hubbard that manages to cover for all the participants without discrediting the Beverly Hills PD. Axel, realizing that his exploits while on vacation will likely get him fired from the Detroit PD, asks Bogomil to smooth matters over with Inspector Todd. When Axel mentions the possibility of setting up shop as a private investigator in Beverly Hills, Bogomil nervously agrees to wipe the slate clean for him. Later, Taggart and Billy meet Axel as he is checking out of his hotel and pay his bill. He invites them to join him for a farewell drink, and they accept the offer. It freezes, which I thought was a weird, when it just freezes on his face for a bit. I thought that was odd. That actually comes up in trivia. But yeah, that is our movie.
Wow, that's you know what? The trend of when we like a movie, if the reviews are shorter, still sticks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, we talk a lot more when we hate the movie.
Oh God, so much more. But it's like there were no glaring red flags. There was no like super offensive humor in this. There was nothing. There were no like huge plot holes. Like there was the normal action movie plot holes, because obviously, but there wasn't anything like glaring or that stopped the story. It was well acted. It was well directed. It freaks me out, that I still really like this movie.
Yeah, no, it was great. Well, yeah. So what is your score?
Honestly, this is a buy it. I very rarely say this, but this is worth the money. If you can get this, I'd even say up to $20, although you could probably buy it for 15 if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
It's still funny. There is nothing overtly offensive about it and about the comedy, which shocked me. It still holds up, and it's still funny, and it's still enjoyable, and the action is still pretty good. Although there are times where you're like, my God, this is still super 80s. This is definitely from the 80s, but the story itself works, and the acting still works, and the comedy still works. But I mean, there are a few things, like when you see the Detroit police cars, you're like, what the fuck is that?
Those were horrible.
Those were terrible. I was like, what the fuck is that on top of the car? And if you watch this movie, ladies and gentlemen and peoples of the YouTubes and the podcasts, you will see what I'm talking about. Because I was that is not real.
I actually had the same thought. Like, is that what they look like in the 80s? Because when you get from Detroit to what you expect, Beverly Hills, what you expect a police car to look like, they were
It was crazy, but anyway,
Completely different.
This is one of the movies that can still stand up today and still be funny. And it's not, and honestly, this is terrible to say, but I think it's very important to say. This is proof that you can still be funny 40 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it, like, the comedy is the same 40 years later. It's still fucking funny.
Yeah.
And are there some things where you're like, not totally kosher? Of course, because it's 1984. But surprisingly, it's not offensive.
No,
And
not at all.
Shocking to me, to be perfectly honest. So buy it. Buy this movie. What's your rating?
My score. Beverly Hills Cop is still a very funny movie, and it doesn't rely solely on star performer to carry all the jokes and action. It's well paced and benefits from being stuck in the past. It is a time capsule that is just as exciting to open now as it was back in the 80s. Jokes are funny, the acting is spot on, from the good guys to the bad guys, and everyone in between. It is clever, it is outlandish, while still feeling realistic. And most importantly, it is very entertaining. I could watch this again tonight and still enjoy it. Like I said, I want to watch more. I want to watch part 2 and even part 3. The score, the soundtrack, perfect. The look from Detroit to Beverly Hills, other than the Detroit police cars, all look spectacular, very nostalgic. But Eddie Murphy isn't just good. He's perfect in this movie. Like, you cheer for him, you laugh at him, you laugh with him. The supporting cast, like all of them are great. I would be hard-pressed to come up with a better action comedy. This movie not only shows us why Eddie Murphy was such a star in the 80s, but why the 80s is regarded as having so many great movies. Beverly Hills Cop is 80s movie royalty. And the reason so many action comedies borrowed from this and are also compared to this. Buy it. Yeah. I think it is on every streaming service out there. Mm-hmm. But I would be interested in spending money on a Blu-ray or a 4K if it had a decent amount of features with it.
Oh, yeah.
This is worth buying in fear that it might leave streaming. And
oh, yeah.
I would buy the poster or the tin poster for the movie room or the man cave or whatever. Yeah, this movie's iconic and great. Yeah.
I'm still shocked that it holds up still.
I had so much fun watching this fucking movie. So much fun.
Well, first I was a little surprised because I was like as I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is a lot more action heavy than I remember it being. Which I was not mad about because I love action movies. So I was like, oh, there's like a lot of action in this movie. I remember it just being mostly comedy. And then I was like, but the comedy's still funny. Like, yeah. I was still laughing. And I was like, oh shit, this is still good. It was shocking to me, and I'm very pleased. Very, very pleased.
But first, we're going to go through Beverly Hills trivia because this will make easier editing. All right, there is so much trivia. It's fun trivia. This was not a horrible production. I did read stuff where they all remain friends.
Amazing.
And so it was, yeah, this is just fun trivia. This is not like Judge Dredd. All right, you may start.
Eddie Murphy, John Ashton, Judge Reinhold improvised most of their comic lines. Literally hundreds of takes were ruined by cast members, actors, or the director laughing during shooting. During the Super Cops monologue, Ashton is pinching his face hard and looking down in apparent frustration. He is actually laughing. Reinhold put his hand in his pocket and pinched his thigh really hard, trying to prevent himself from laughing. That's fantastic.
Axel Foley's t-shirt is from Mumford, a real-life Detroit area school one of the filmmakers attended. When the film came out, the school got orders for the shirts from customers all over the world.
Well, that's fantastic. Look at that school fundraiser without even trying.
Yeah, probably made a pretty good penny, too.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I think I went the wrong way here.
You did.
There we go.
Okay. Originally, 2 men were supposed to be working in the art gallery scenes. When the director heard Bronson Pinchot's Serge impersonation, he thought it was so hysterical that he scaled back the other part to give Pinchot more screen time. The second actor shows up briefly with his shirt collar open too wide, and Serge comments on it. Serge was a gem.
Yeah.
Serge was a gem.
Yeah, and he, like I said, he's in part 2, 3, and in part 4.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy became very tired while filming the police station sequences. The crew offered him coffee, but he refused to drink it because he refuses to take drugs of any kind. Eventually, he relented and took small sips of coffee to stay awake. He became very energized and ad libbed the Super Cops monologue.
That's fucking amazing. Gilbert R. Hill, a real life Detroit Police Department homicide detective, played Inspector Todd. Hill later served as president of the Detroit City Council. And I
Yeah,
heard
because
he was the runner up for the mayor
yeah,
of
I
Detroit.
did
Yeah.
hear that too. Yeah.
He ran for mayor and he got runner up.
The film marked a change of career for Ronny Cox, often used for soft spoken, fatherly characters. Cox became sought for in the role of corporate villains, notably in Robocop and Total Recall, after playing the hard nosed detective in Beverly Hills Cop. Oh, what
That's
happened to me there?
You disappeared.
Yeah.
That's fantastic for him.
Yeah.
I like that. Eddie Murphy backed out of doing Ghostbusters to do this film, and I think that was a solid choice.
Very smart choice, but um, you could only imagine what he would have done in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of him and Dan Aykroyd going off together and just
Yeah.
having a time.
And he never regretted. This is not in this tribute. I did remember. I did read a thing where Eddie Murphy has only said he's only regretted one not taking one movie, and that was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He said that when he heard about what they're trying to do, it didn't make sense to him and didn't think they could pull it off properly. And then he said when he watched it, he was so mad that he didn't take the movie. And what's his name? Ah,
I can't remember his name either, but
I can't remember. Bob
I see
Hoskins.
him. Yes, that's
Bob
it.
Hoskins. He said that was every time he sees that movie, he gets so mad that he didn't take. He said he would have had so much fun making that movie.
I think it would have been a very different movie with him in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Very different.
I
Is
can't
it me?
remember. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it's me. Sure, why not? We're gonna make it me. The completed movie made such an impression on Paramount executives that they committed to a sequel moments after the first private executive screening of the completed film. That's impressive.
Yeah,
Usually they wait for box office.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then they watch this and they're like, "This is gonna be good."
Yeah,
This is the first of 7 Eddie Murphy movies in a row to open at number 1 at the box office.
that's impressive.
That's impressive. And before this, it was Trading Places and 48 Hours.
Mm.
So they didn't open at number 1, obviously.
The shooting script was literally pasted together from the many scripts written for the project over the years. When they were stuck, Eddie Murphy would improvise dialogue or create a scene. Honestly, pretty impressive, because it doesn't feel like that in this movie. It
No,
doesn't
not at
feel
all.
like it feels like there was a completed script that was well thought out and planned.
And I've also read that when they wanted him to do Shrek and he got Donkey, I don't know if he had it already, but I know he does music, so he probably had it already.
Mm,
He did it all like he did it at his home. And
yeah.
they just I guess told him to do just do you. And he is
Just
one of
do
the
you.
memorable
Oh,
things
everybody
from that
loves
movie.
Donkey,
Yeah. Film debut of Damon Wayans.
and he did a fantastic,
That was
fantastic job.
yeah, that was funny.
Broke the 11-year record set by The Exorcist, 1973, as the highest grossing R-rated film domestically, and itself held the record for 19 years until surpassed by The Matrix Reloaded, 2003. After adjusting for inflation, this is the third highest grossing R-rated film domestically after The Exorcist and The Godfather, 1972.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah. When trying to locate Foley and Rosewood, the Beverly Hills PD consult a satellite tracking system. At the time, it was made up to advance the plot. It was invented later, a predecessor of the modern day global positioning system, other known as GPS.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
They just made shit up, and then I'm sure some scientist guy watched this movie and he was like, "Actually, that's kinda smart.
Yeah, we could actually
Can
do
we
that.
can we do that?" Sylvester Stallone said he left the project because he didn't think audiences would accept him as a fish out of water cop who was new to the lifestyle of Beverly Hills. He also didn't like the inclusion of comedy because he didn't feel he was suited for it.
It would have been a way different movie.
It would have been such a different movie. Such a different movie.
The movie was written for Sylvester Stallone with the character of Michael Tandino as his brother and Jenny Summers as his love interest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Director Martin Brest flipped a quarter to decide whether to direct the picture or not. In the wake of Beverly Hills Cop's enormous success, he later had the quarter framed and hung it upon a wall in his office. I mean, honestly, I would too.
Yeah, no shit. The first film to be released to over 2,000 theaters in the United States.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge release, especially for the 80s.
84, yeah, that
Yeah.
2000, that's a ton. Oh shit.
I got this. Don't worry. Hold on. I'm going to get a little sip of water. All right, I'm good. Michael Eisner, who was head of Paramount Pictures, came up with the film's concept in 1975. While driving an old station wagon that he first owned in New York City, he was stopped for speeding on the freeway. The police officer treated him with condescension due to the condition of his vehicle. It made Eisner realize the degree to which status is measured in Los Angeles by what kind of car you drive, and he reportedly exchanged the station wagon for a Mercedes Benz the following day. However, he became dedicated to enshrining the event in a film about a Beverly Hills policeman. In the coming years, Eisner remained dissatisfied with potential scripts until Daniel Petrie Jr., who had never been credited as a feature film writer, submitted his screenplay in September 1983. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
So, yeah, Michael Eisner had an idea and he looked at a bunch of writers and said, "Get on it." And 8 years later, this guy did it.
It was 8 years of, nah, not this one.
No,
Nah,
it's not
not
right.
this one.
No, you're fired. Get out of here. Who's next? Many of the opening shots were filmed in Detroit. Martin Brest was escorted around the city by the police, who would refuse to follow him when they thought it was too dangerous. Brest and crew continued with their work unescorted. Actually, it was undercover regular clothing cops. And I guess when they went to like some they're like, no thanks.
Yeah, they're like, no, no, no. This is not the neighborhood we're gonna
No.
hang out in. Thanks.
Yeah, we're good. Good luck to you.
The Beverly Hills Police did not provide access to their headquarters, so Martin Brest and staff built a set that would look like the exact opposite of the Detroit Police Department, like private security for all rich people. The set was influenced by Brest's original conceptual designs for the NORAD scenes in War Games 1983. He recycled his unused work because he felt he spent too much time on it to never use it. I mean, valid. Also, I remember loving War Games.
I remember loving War Games too.
Yeah.
That was awesome. The shooting script was literally pasted together from the many scripts written for the project over the years. When they were stuck, Eddie Murphy. Didn't we do this one already?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we did. My bad.
It's
There we
okay.
go.
You can take this one though.
Okay. According to Martin Brest, the stripper in the scene where Axel, Rosewood, and Taggart are at the club together was a dancer named Mouse. She was evidently a legendary stripper, and the song playing in the scene, Nasty Girl by Vantage 6, I think that was written by Prince as well, was the actual song Mouse danced to.
That's good for her. She got to put her actual work on
Yeah,
film.
she contributed.
She did. She was also super hot. And
Yeah.
I love that song, Nasty Girl.
Yeah,
Love
it
it.
was as soon as I heard it, I totally forgot about it, obviously. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Producers wanted to cut out the scene between Victor and Jenny, played by Lisa Eilbacher. But Martin Brest felt it was necessary to the plot and that it was the scene where Victor's villainy became clear. Brest made a trade. In order to keep the scene in, he had to give in and include the freeze frame shot at the end of the film. Brest didn't like this aesthetic idea, but acquiesced.
Yeah, and that's why we got that weird camera
Yeah.
freeze at the end there.
Every time they do that, I'm like, it was very popular in the 80s for
Yeah.
some fucking reason. But every time they do that, it kind of makes me think of a soap opera.
Yeah.
Because they just like stop on the person's face and the person freezes, like they don't actually do a freeze frame. But anyways.
Yeah. The truck used during the opening chase sequence was referred to on set as the train. Its front bumper was replaced with a steel I-beam so it could plow through anything it came into contact with. Eddie Murphy did many of the stunts needed during the sequence, and these shots were filmed in downtown LA, not Detroit. The shot of Axel flying out of the back and hitting the side of the truck was obviously a stuntman, one who didn't want to get back in the truck after. It looked like when he flew out of the back and
Yeah.
hit the side of that looked impressive.
It looked very impressive. It also looked
and-
like it hurt because I was like,
Yeah.
God, you're just getting flung around. For the shot where Axel jumps down steps and rolls into a gunshot, Eddie Murphy had to shoot some of this. He had to shoot the shot of Axel actually jumping off the steps, but Murphy didn't want to do this. Brest convinced him by saying if he could do it, Eddie could do it. Brest did it, and Murphy came in.
This film was released on VHS at close to the same time as the introduction consumer-oriented Casio PT80 handheld microphone keyboard. If you're listening to this and you can't see it, you just go on and Google Casio PT-80 and you will recognize it. It was an enormous hit with the kids. Thanks to video rentals, huge numbers of parents rented the videos and kids were able to see it. Shortly after, huge numbers of kids, quite literally around the planet, were using the Casios to punch out the Axel Foley theme. It became a common complaint among school teachers about the incessant playing of the theme by kids during recess. It was actually shot on not this keyboard, a much bigger keyboard, but yes, you could play it on this keyboard. If you just see the notes.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna get an actual this actual song, but again, we'd get flagged by YouTube.
Yeah.
Fucking YouTube.
The scene after the gunfight, when Bogomil is explaining everything that went down to the chief of police, was a particularly nerve-wracking day of shooting for Martin Brest. Their time was very limited, and all the different shots required several camera movements and different lighting setups. Martin even called the studio during the day and said he wasn't sure if they'd be able to get the entire scene finished that day. They told him to do the best he could. Brest, who was smoking at the time, notes he smoked literally 7 packs of cigarettes that day.
Wow.
We've all been there, sir. We've all been. Actually, no, I think my record was like 3 packs of smokes.
I was gonna say 3. I can say 3, and I was
Yeah.
drinking a lot that day.
I was filling a room with smoke for a short that I worked on in film school.
Yeah, and yeah, 7. Wow,
That's a lot. That's a
That-
lot.
that is a lot.
Especially if he's smoking to the filter, dude. Ugh.
When Foley enters the department where he works, the words Investigation Operations Division are written on the window. Investigation is misspelled. Martin Brest mentions this, notes that it annoyed him at the time, but this being 1984, he didn't worry about it too much. Everyone's illiterate.
The first R-rated film in history to gross over $200 million domestically. That's impressive.
Yeah. And that is it for our trivia. All right. Thank you for going back to 1984 and taking a look at Beverly Hills Cop. We both said buy it. Yeah. And until the next movie we remember liking.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking,